Let's talk about today's college basketball card or NBA, wherever you want to go. I was going to talk about some live dogs. There are a handful of games that we could take a look at. Where do you want to start with college?
I
I
thought we
know
were
where you
going to
want to
spell
start.
Eagles next. We can spell
Oh,
the
we can
Eagles
do
at the
that.
end of the show then. No, it's fine.
Okay.
I like Valpo tonight. Valpo is at Drake catching a big number. That's a big number for Drake to lay. You could take 14 and a half now at a couple spots. Now this opened 13. It's been bet up as well. I think the number's too high to begin with, let alone the added push on Drake at home out to 14 and a half. No, that's too many points. I think Valpo is a decent squad. Now, this segment is called Live Dogs, or we're talking live dogs. Do I think Valpo is going to win outright? No. But two
Yeah.
touchdowns, that's a lot in that conference. And Valpo, very, very good at making their free throws. They are one of the best in the country at knocking down shots from the line. So if you let them hang around and they can get into foul trouble, it's hard to win, I think, by more than 14 against Valpo. So that was the first bet I made this morning. Valpo plus 14 and a half.
Okay, so this one might be a conversation about live dogs, but I want to get your thoughts on it. The number is going up this morning from where we were last night, too. Northwestern is favored by 6.5 over Indiana in Evanston. 6.5. They have 2 Big Ten wins. I'm talking about the Wildcats. And they were overtime wins. So they're not winning by margin there. I think that's kind of interesting. They've got Illinois next. I don't know if they're looking ahead to that coming up over the weekend. Northwestern plays at a very slow tempo. Dude, that's a lot of points. And my assumption is the betting market is looking at the Hoosiers and saying they're not that good. 5-3 in conference play. They're projected, according to Ken Palm, to lose their next 8 games. So it doesn't feel like some of the numbers guys are really buying in to what Indiana is doing right now. But when I first look at that number, I'm like, that's a lot of freaking points for Northwestern. Northwestern, 11 wins on the year. And the only teams that they've beaten by, I was looking up 6, so it would now be 7+, are teams that are outside the top 100 in the nation. Are you with me that it's too many points, or, the matchup, not buying Indiana, Northwestern at home? Do you understand the number of 6.5?
I don't like Indiana's team,
Uh-huh.
but I think I like Northwestern laying 6 less, if that makes any sense. No,
Totally agree.
I'm good. I
Okay.
like the Cats in the right role when they're catching a good number, when they're a home dog of, 4.5 to 3. Like, that's a good wheelhouse for them to be in. When they're not supposed to win, but they find a way to win. Now you got to win by at least 7. It's a game I probably won't bet, but I bet
Mm-hmm.
Indiana before Northwestern. Here were the live dogs I wrote down. And this one's going to be popular because it's Kansas going on the road laying 5.5. It's going to be popular, but TCU's live. So that number opened overnight 6.5. No more 6s. They're all gone. So the best number right now to take with the Frogs is 5.5. It's 5 at Pinnacle, 5 at Circa, 5 at Superbook. It just got hit in the last 5 minutes. They took the 5.5s, a lot of them off the board. So I wrote down TCU plus 5.5. And then I also wrote down Evansville. They're at home against UIC. Evansville's getting 4.5. They could easily win that game. But first bet I made, Valpo plus 14. You can now bet 14.5. And I like Evansville and TCU.
This team, I don't know if it would qualify for live dogs because depending on what book you look at, there's a different favorite. Usually 1.5 at some spots either way. Gottlieb's back in action.
Oh, no. What's the number?
Yes, and it is extremely short. BetMGM has GreenBay favored. Everywhere else has GreenBay as a short dog. They've lost 15 in a row. 15,
They're
15
due.
straight.
They're due.
They are due. They're playing IU Indianapolis, and Indy already beat them this year, I believe. So, yeah, it's been since November since they've won. They are just brutal. They are they're dead last in the country in offensive rebound rate. It it was so red when I was looking at the stat. I'm like, what number does that say? I can't read it because they're 364th in offensive rebounding rate, which I thought was hilarious. They're the worst. And the guy that scored, what was his name? Anthony Roy. He scored 34 points against IU Indianapolis last time. He's been out for like a month. So I assume he's their best player. Are we fading him or are we doing do factor? 15 games, Gottlieb gets his revenge here against IU Indianapolis.
Every time I hear the do factor, I think of Krusty in The Simpsons. You remember that? Let me get this straight. Mm-hmm. You took all the money you made franchising your name and bet it against the Harlem Globetrotters. Krusty, I thought the Generals were due. I will never not think of that clip. It is one of my favorites of all time. He's spinning the ball on his finger. I'll follow you down the Green Bay rabbit hole if you want. I will just tell you, are we on or are we against?
I'm not backing him. No, I think you got to go against. I mean, this is not a good team, but if you're doing anything, I mean, at BetMGM, they're making Green Bay the favorite. I would just take IU Indianapolis. They're going to win at some point, but I'm not backing them.
He still does the radio show during game days, correct?
I saw him at a press conference recently, and he was saying that his comments that, remember, what was that Michigan Tech team that he lost to, which isn't listed on KenPom? He was like, oh, those are taken out of context. Okay, buddy.
I can only imagine being a player or being an assistant coach and trying to go in, like, you watch the tape, you have this attack plan for the opposition, and you try and go into coach's office and it says, do not bother on the radio.
On air.
Like, that is wild. The on-air light outside his office. And then he probably gets mad if somebody tries to interrupt him. Mm-hmm. That's a weird situation.
They got to fire that dude. Like, now. I kind of want to see him getting fired in season. That would be hilarious. I'm looking at his coaching staff because who would actually agree to that? To go with that situation. I don't really recognize any of these names. But anyways, what else we have today? God, Stanford's laying double digits against Miami. They are so horrendous, man. Quality ACC matchup. Miami at Stanford.
The classic showdown.
Yes.